Hi, folks. Welcome to the Time Warriors podcast. I am your host, Robert Nesbitt, and today is a special interview with an Irish comic book writer called Peter Campbell, the creator of Lone Star Soul. Hope you enjoy today's podcast, and any inquiries or questions, be free to email them or join us on www.thetimewarriors.co.uk. Now I'm recording. Happy days. There you go. So how you getting on these days anyway?
Hi, good. Very busy. Are we recording?
Yeah. So work away there.
So you got a list of questions, or do you want to sort of screen or ask me what you're going to ask me first, and then ask me them, or you just want to get straight on to?
I would just get straight into it. We'll just discuss what's been going on with you and your.
Right, go ahead.
So what's new with you? You know how you getting on with the books?
Right. So, stuff that I can't. There's stuff that I can talk about, and there's stuff that I can't really talk about. And the stuff that I can't talk about is the kind of businessy stuff.
Yes.
It's very exciting. Probably a wee bit drier than our exciting comics industry and all that and all the things that we love and stuff and the reasons why we go to conventions and buy books. But I'm running a business as well, and that entails a lot of prepping pitches and presentations, Robert.
Exactly.
It's a necessary evil, but I think if I do it the way it's, if it continues the way it's going to continue, then it'll be worth it. So it's behind the scenes stuff that's very exciting. I've been pitching, and I'm actually going to be meeting investors as well, because that's how serious I'm taking this.
That's
And
cool.
so I've established, as you know, a wee publishing company here in Donegal, and I was able to release new books in several formats, and that was great. And we launched the website and made it look as professional as possible. And so basically, that's the infrastructure, that's the scaffolding, if you like.
Indeed, mate.
So then, once you get that stuff cooking, I've been able to buy myself some time, and I've been able to get writing, which is really exciting. I was telling you the other day, and I've been drafting the plot for Volume 8.
That's pretty cool, like. So it is.
So I've always had the few interviews that I've done throughout the year. They were basically telling me what the crack was with the story and what's coming up, and it's great because I have an answer to it, Robert.
Exactly.
It's not like books can be designed in such a way they can be a one shot, and that's great. And this, the one you have as well can also be. But to be honest, I just love me epic storylines. I just love it. So they satisfy myself, and they satisfy the person who likes those type of stories. And for me to keep interested, I've taken a crack at carving out one myself. It's been great fun. But I mean, they say my peers and contemporaries would ward off that, doing a longer sort of narrative and sort of hone your wares in smaller, shorter stories.
Yes.
But I've been doing that much other stuff anyway throughout the years as an illustrator, as a designer, as a writer, as a script writer, journalism, radio. I've been this has probably been cooking all in the background anyway, Robert, so I feel pretty enthused, geared up, and ready to tell it, so it was always there, and the beginning, the middle, and the end was always there, and so you always go back to it and you revisit it, and wee tiny things change, but it hasn't actually deviated that much from the main arc,
Yes.
but it has grown and evolved nicely. And what I've actually done very recently is detail and sequence the events as they happen in each separate books, and even number the books, and even down to a page count. But it worked out pretty detailed, It's great fun, like, it's just great fun, fleshing out a world, like. I'm a big lover of set pieces.
Yes.
Really interesting locations for events in the storyline, And whilst the locations might not necessarily drive the narrative, they're a setting for the narrative that actually gives the story more drama, or gives the story more drama, So.
I noticed that with your first book, like, you when you were opening it up, it just became like this big, magnificent world. And like, I liked the idea that you had the map in the first book when I bought off
Good.
you, and
Great.
it gave you like a detail. Like, I was always a fan of like open world things. You know what I mean? Like the days of gaming, I used to play like, you ever heard of Fallout and things? I used to love it.
Yeah.
The idea of like a big open world with open storylines going on. You
Aye.
seen they be doing that with the first book. I was like, oh well, I was wonder where he's going with this. I always enjoy them sort of like adventures with your Afro community, like.
Aye. You see, it was important that I thought to myself, well, I have this kind of planet and its locations sort of charted out, and so I thought, as a narrative device, as a device, I thought, well, why doesn't he just, when he's looking for, when Leroy is looking for elements of himself, he'd find sort of, the original idea was that he finds, a glove or a coat or something buried in the desert, but that'd be too random and too contrived, So I thought, what kind of narrative device would be good to give the reader a sense of place, a sense of fleshed out geography, somewhere, a good immersive world, and what would be a good way to do that? And I thought, the best way to do it would maybe for the other character who's guiding him, to get him to a place where he used to be, and give him a map that he used to have. But I'll give you a little teaser. That is, it's only 1/4 of a map.
Oh, it's going to be a big, big map then.
So it's actually, it's 1/4 of, there's 3 other quarters.
I'll tell you, it just blows the mind thinking of it. It's like going, shows you.
Well, it's very appreciated that that you would say that you would pick up on the detail like that, because, as you say, in that particular sequence in the book, it's a nice double-page spread.
Yes.
And it does articulate places, and it gives them names, and there was actually, that the map double-page spread is one of the parts of the book which is just littered with foreshadowing.
Yes.
Both in geography and in the storyline. So that's good that was picked up on,
Also, I noticed that music seems to be a big influence in it. So you must be a big fan of the music industry, are you? For just like going into detail with just the ideas of having music within it.
Yes, that's right. The integration of the music was very important. It's actually very important for the multi-platform element as well, which we'll go into that in a second. But the music, yeah, to me, as I've mentioned before, the music, just as we all do ourselves, Robert, when we're sitting working, we're listening to tunes or whatever, and they take us somewhere else, be that as it may. And a wise man said, actually a wise woman said, never explain lyrics. As a songwriter, never explain lyrics. Always have your own take and always have your own definition on it, so that it's yours and so that it's individual. So that's why the music that I've listened to has been integrated into the storyline, rooted and seeded throughout the narrative, so that you can take your own metaphors and meanings from it too. And I've made my own interpretations of the tunes that I listen to fit in with this particular storyline, and I hope I've done that.
You have, like, you definitely have. Cause I noticed there's a part that talked about the soundtrack to the comic, itself.
The soundtrack to the journey.
I was like, going, I haven't heard of any of these guys before.
Okay, right. Well, you see, the music itself is, it does it for me, the 60s funk and soul and Motown and black music, and even what precedes that, like your blues and your, and your early jazz, whatever, and your really rough, raw blues, and and just out raw blues and even in bluegrass. But that was really, really important to get on there for me because it's the stories about the conception of the tunes,
Yes.
the stories surrounding the artists themselves that wrote it, and the time periods where they were knocking about, which really grabbed me as well, which probably was the inspiration. Having all that mixed together was what gave me the inspiration for Lone Star Soul, because music is a big play on the story. And it was important for me as well. They not do it in a tacky way. Because sometimes music can be integrated into a story, and it's just a bit cheesy,
Yeah, I know what you mean there, like.
Jesus, I wanted to keep it glued nicely with the stuff that I love. Like I love me sci-fi, and I love me big sweeping sci-fi deserts, and I love me retro sci-fi, and I love epic sort of vistas. And so I just wanted to pull it all together, something that was going to be kind of cool and kind of cohesive, you know.
That's cool, like, so it is. Was there any big inspirations towards, that influenced you, like other books or, even as you were talking about movies? Was there anything that really influenced you to write and delve into this world?
Was there any particular influence?
Yeah.
Geez, it's a whole melting pot, Robert. I would chart it back to, Devour in 2008 when I was younger. In fact, I think I actually devoured so much of it that I haven't really needed to read it anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. And I devoured 2008 more than I would have any American comics, But you see, the thing is, the lovely thing about 2008 is that all the British writers that are now huge, they're actually huge stars in their own right. They all got their breaks, back then. Grant Morrison and Mark Millar, they were kind of really relatively unknown, then. And they were knocking out stories like Zenith. And Mark Millar was knocking out stories like Red Razors, if you ever remember that.
No, I don't, unfortunately.
Magazine. The Red Razors was basically the Soviet judges, and there was this particularly mad judge who was called Red Razors, and Mark Millar,
Yes.
and then of course Alan Moore as well. They all got their breaks. They all cut their teeth in 2008, and all this stuff holds to today, But other influences for me would have been, we mentioned the music there, but other influences again would be early 70s American cinema. There was just something about the films that were coming out then. They just had a different feeling, vibe, in the way they were shot, and the cast, and even the music as well. I think, as I alluded to before, Coen Brothers paid homage to that in No Country for Old Men, where they used silence as the soundtrack. They let the film breathe. They let silence have its place in the movie. Whereas a lot of films now, they're so flashbang walloped that a second silence is forbidden, So that's what I love about that era's films, and it's inspired me a great deal. And then, of course, you got some really obscure retro sci-fi being made then as well, like things like Phase 4 and the Andromeda Strain, and really obscure stuff that was really cutting edge and ahead of its time. By Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton would be a big inspiration of my, as a writer too.
I always loved the Blade Runner when it was out.
Of course.
I was a big fan of it. I have the soundtrack to it as well, and
of course. That would take you away on its own, the soundtrack. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy to listen to when you're driving the car, like. So it is. It is one of the most trippiest ones to listen to going down a country lane, coming home in the evening. So it is.
I'm aware of obviously all the bigger sci-fi movies, but I try to sort of see what else has maybe been overlooked, and I look the maybe more vaguer references that are wee gems in their own right too. Obviously, I'm a child of Star Wars, and I've no shame at all admitting that. Play it out as it may be, and as much damage the new trilogy may have done, I still don't care, Robert. I still just go mad for Star Wars. It's a lifelong as I'm sure many I would agree. So it ends up just being a lifelong thing. You just going, that's me. I'm hooked. I'm Star Wars.
There's a lot of people now being converted to Star Wars. Like, I recently got my best mate Merv there into it. He's
Only
never,
recently, yeah.
he's never watched Star Wars. He seen me as me 28 and he's never watched Star Wars. So I had it back
Yeah,
to
that's
back.
interesting.
I was like, there you go. I can't believe it. I was like shocked that he never watched the movies before. So it is.
What was there? I mean, it's interesting hearing someone, embarking on these Star Wars this late in the day. And what was their reaction like? Were
He
they
loved it.
shite, or did it age badly, or did they just think it was tacky, or what?
For him, like he used to love watching all the old school stuff anyway. So like he turned around and he says, "That was amazing." I go, told you. Do I showed him in Blu-ray format, like, but he still was blown away. So he was.
I have to say, one film director that I am now completely blown away by, Robert, is Joe Kosinski. You know Joe Kosinski, no?
Fortunately, no. What was the films he done now?
Well, you'd be really surprised when I tell you. He done Oblivion.
Oh yes, I went to see
Right?
that. Yeah, it was.
Wait, you haven't seen it?
I know, I have seen it. I'm really impressed. It was
Well, Oblivion got a wild licking, so it did, from critics, and I thought it was my film of the year. I'm sorry, it's my film of the year because it was such a retro, stripped back, simplistic sci-fi movie, and that's what I loved about it. So then, the more I read up on it, the more it all made sense. Joe Kosinski directed Tron Legacy,
it was another good film.
which was a great bloody film. Like, and Tron itself then is pure retro sci-fi, as we know. But then Joe Kosinski himself is actually he's an architect. He's a background architecture, so that showed in his movies. But the final link in the chain is that Joe Kosinski he's making another 2 Tron movies, but he's tipped to direct the remake of The Black Hole.
Right.
So he's pure 70s sci-fi guy, like, and he's up there. I mean, he's definitely one of my favorites at the minute now. He's a great director, great visual style, great visual flair, and really good. And I would say that the new Star Wars films will probably be taking a few leaves out of his book. Once they the strip back thing.
Would you like Christopher Nolan? Would you?
Do you like Christopher Nolan generally?
Yeah.
Well, let me see now. When you're saying stripped back, I think he stripped it back too much. I think he stripped Batman back a little bit too far visually. Personally, or do you not agree?
Oh no, everybody has their opinion. I personally enjoyed it. I'm a Batman fanatic anyway, so. Well, don't worry about it because, there's things I found very weak in the third installment where I thought things were rushed too much unless things weren't explained.
See, funny that, because you asked me about Batman, and the first image that came into my head there was the first one. Right? The first image that came into my head was the first one. And I remember the pan across Gotham where he's standing on top of one of the buildings, and they were just square skyscrapers, like, and I thought, he's sort of taking away the character of what Gotham should be,
Yeah,
they get away too much.
Like what we remember in the comics.
It was a fine film, and the fact that it used Frank Miller's Year One is great. And then, my story was that, to be quite honest, and it's not very trendy to say this, like, it's not very cool to say this, but, and no one would really, I don't know, would admit it or not, but I get lost in the second one. I get completely lost. We had Heath Ledger and stuff, but I was completely confused, Robert. But I only recently watched The Dark Knight Rises, and I gotta say, the last hour of that film was one of the best films I've seen. Never mind one of the best Batman movies I've seen.
Yeah, it was deep. There was a lot of I enjoyed the take on Bane.
Very much so.
And Ra's al Ghul's daughter, I found they were pretty interesting too, because I've read a lot of stories of Ra's al Ghul's daughter. Well, there's a different podcast for that totally.
I wouldn't be the guy to ask now, but I have to say that I remember reading. I mean, I love doing a wee bit of backup reading on Wikipedia about movies that I like, as I'm sure you do yourself.
Oh, I do, yes.
And I really, really enjoyed now Christopher Nolan's kind of story about. He was saying that he wrote a 400-page synopsis for The Dark Knight Rises, and he took it to his brother. He buried himself in his room for the weekend or whatever, a couple of days, and he turned around and he says, "I've cracked it. I've cracked it." And I seen it. I seen where I cracked it, because see where the elements came together at the end of that film, Robert. I thought it was pretty. It's one of the best things I've seen. Like, I mean, the fact that they took the Batman storyline from the Bane comic, the one where he broke his back.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But do you think that it wasn't clear? I don't think it came across that it broke his back in the film, or unless it wasn't supposed to be that way.
I just don't think people really understood the idea of why he was going to get his back broke. I don't understand where it probably came from. The origins of it.
No, they wouldn't understand. But it didn't. You see, it didn't really. When they had their fight, did it look to you like Batman broke his back? Because it didn't to me.
I think he could have put a wee bit more pressure on it. It was just. It was. I don't know about you, but when the fight scene started, there was a lot of. Remember you talked about silence. The fight scene was to me, a very weak part of the. And after sewer, like.
I actually, you're right. You're right. The first thing was, as I say, didn't really come across that Batman's back was supposed to be broken.
No, shit.
There was kind of a scuffle at the end outside the courthouse, sort of very, very near the end, where Batman's kind of doing a bit of sparring in broad daylight, and it looked a wee bit awkward, didn't it?
It did.
Aye, but having said that, narrative-wise, the climbing out of the tunnel or out of the cave, that coming out of the desert, and the connection between the bomb being the device for the endless source of energy, tied in with Ra's al Ghul's daughter, tied in with Bane not actually being the main villain, it was her, and then New York getting quarantined. I thought all that was class, Robert, I have to say. Now, you have to say, he ripped off John Carpenter by doing that.
I would have been the Escape from New York.
It was a pure rip-off.
I noticed a lot of similarities to it. I go sitting there go,
Aye.
I know where they're coming from.
To say, the way it all came together, I could see what he meant when he says that he'd cracked it. He most certainly had. And it was epic when he climbed out of the cave. It was epic, like. I mean, you as a Batman fan must have went mad, because I wasn't, it was great.
I was sitting there, I was excited and everything. I was just like going, yeah. I was sort of hoping for another film, especially if you're guy at the very end when he gets into the Batcave and you realize he's going to be Robin or Nightwing, but
that's right.
You never know what could happen. So it is. Speaking back to your book now,
Sorry.
No, trust me, this is the way I get on. I go really off topic.
That's me.
I guess the listeners to hold on. So it is. It's like you're wondering where we're going. But your book, I read earlier when you sent me the email, the press release, and you talked about an animated. You're thinking about going for like an animated show or something.
Oh man, the ambitions for this are. I hope they're not. I mean, I'm keeping my feet in the ground, but as I say, the stuff that can't be really broadcast is that I'm speaking to investors and stuff, and I'm raising finance and funding. Because it's not just a graphic novel, it's not just comic books, Robert. The proposition here is
multi-platform,
multi-medium, not multimedia, but multi-medium.
Yes.
The strategy is one storyline, one pretty, long storyline, but told across a variety of mediums. And one of my loves is animation, specifically 80s animation. Things like Ulysses 31 and Galaxy Rangers, stuff like that. And
classic stuff.
I've worked up a Bible for the universe as well, where it has, I've written the first season, 26 episodes, all plotted out of an arc, which is in this universe as well, which happens kind of later down the line after the first series of books. And yeah, that's the aim. To get these, that's the aim, to get it made into to get installments of it made into animated installments. And we've actually started making a bit of a trailer for that. I've been plotting out. Actually, I was finishing off the plot for that this afternoon.
That's cool, mate. See, like when I sat and read your book, the first thing came to my mind was Samuel L. Jackson's Afro Samurai. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's about just it's in the name. It's about an Afro man who's a samurai, and it's sort of done like the old manga animated movies, and it is really brutal. But like there's a lot of like what your guy's going on, the way he talks, the way the dialogue goes. The dialogue is like that within his animated TV show.
Yes.
And I was like, I goes, if you have never seen it, totally recommend it. It really probably set you more on fire to go, right, I really want to make this work.
Well, you see, this is it. I mean, the things I've watched as well, animation wise, and the things that I love. I just gotta see Leroy, with his coat flapping in the desert. It has to be done.
Yeah.
Just gotta be done, And now I haven't seen Afro Samurai. I obviously am aware of it, But the thing I have to be careful is I can't I have to do a kind of a, what's that? When the president, plausible denial. I sort of can't watch this stuff because then people will say, you just copied that, or you just did this and that and the other, So I'm kind of, as painful as it is, I'm avoiding material as well, so that I'm kind of not, And a lot of people have said to me as well about the Dark Tower and the Gunslinger and stuff. I so want to read that, Robert, so want to read it.
I've read.
But I think if I do, it'll influence what I write, and it'll influence perhaps people will see too many similarities. So if you understand my approach here, that I'm sort of staying away from other material, so that I can stay as sort of original as possible, and not be sort of not down that route. Obviously, there's going to be coincidences, but there's certain things that I'm not reading because people just think, you just took that from that and blah, blah, blah,
I actually see where you're coming from. Yeah, I would totally understand that. That's the way I try to write. I'm actually trying to write my own stuff at the moment too. And that's what great. Owen Quinn's been very helpful in that area too, where he's very good at showing me the ways of going about things. And I try to write my own wee way, and that goes. I'll all of a sudden watch a film. I goes, I want to add that in. It goes, but no, I need to be original. And then you're sort of afraid to watch things. I totally agree because like you're going, well, what if my idea has already been taken? That sort of thing.
Well, you see, the chances of an idea being taken are pretty high.
They are.
But the chances of an idea being interpreted the same as you are actually lower.
Exactly.
And if you have your own interpretation and your own take, then the chances are you can have a spin on an idea, which is then original, rather than just the root of it itself. So it's where you go with it, where you take it, whatever direction, that can be all yours,
Because you believe it that it took it as far as you going to get an award then last Friday? Were you in shock when you found that out?
Jesus. To be honest, it's been an absolutely phenomenal 2013. So it has. I launched the business. I launched the products in March. I was doing work behind the scenes for about 2 or 3 months around Christmas time and stuff, and then we launched, sort of get it out there, put it on the vendors, made it a real thing, and now it really exists. It's really out there. Lone Star Soul is a brand which, obviously, I need more people to know about it because there's still a thing of, I haven't heard of that, which is good. I can work with that. That's great. But as a regards to setting it up, getting it out of the hatch, it's really there now, and it feels great. And I won an award there in March for best startup as well for Lone Star Soul, and then as you say, I won another bloody award on Friday. I can't believe it. Plus many other wonderful wee things that have practically happened on a week by week basis too. This has been I've been having a ball, to be quite honest. Been having a ball, both running the business and running the business around the Lone Star Soul books and the experience. It's just been such a great couple of months.
That's right. Like the last time me and you were properly chatting was Dublin Comic Con,
That's right.
and the conventions seem to be a thing now, which any comic book guy wants to be at. So they do, and you seem to be like. Do you try your utmost best to be at them, or do you get a lot of invites?
Well, you see, as I say, hey, I'm only on the radar now this year, and I've only come out of the hatch this year, and our first appearance at a con, as you say, was 2D in Derry. That was our first big kind of venture where we brought the stuff, brought our wares, and set up a wee stand. And we had a great response. We had a great 2 days, and it was a great response. And it was the first time I done a con, first time I set a table up or had a table. And then so that was a nice wee lead in to things. And Dublin Comic Con has only been my second. So,
And then next year we've got the big ones coming. But it sounds like the MCM Comic Con's coming over.
I don't know, hey, since Dublin Comic Con finished, it seems as though it's just me, but it seems as though all these bigger brands now are setting up stalls next year.
Yeah, I think they've realised that.
In the calendar in Ireland, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
they've realised. I think now that wait a minute, Ireland is the place to go now. I think it's. I think also Game of Thrones has kind of helped that too.
You reckon
But
so?
it's like going, oh, this is where Game of Thrones is filmed. Let's go here.
Are MGM doing one in Dublin and Belfast, or is it a different crowd? There's another one, but there's actually another big name
Yeah,
coming.
they were talking. It was announced on Facebook or something. Rumours talking about King's Hall having a big Comic Con in April. So they
Aye,
were
that's right. Another one again. Like
going to be a busy year next year. Thinking
that's fantastic.
for yourself, you have a
Dice?
hope. Hmm.
Are you the dice? Are you?
Dice? No, unfortunately, I can't go.
Can't make it. No, it's looking like I'm going to head down next week.
It's next week, is it?
It's tomorrow week.
Tomorrow week. Oh. Oh, unless somebody decides to pick me up.
Dublin down, is it?
Oh, it would have been good to go to, but I think next year at least I can you can organise it further afield if you know what I mean. It's like right, set yourself out what you want to do. And for you, that's probably what you're trying to do. Is like, right, get more of my brand and hit these cons.
Hey, listen, it's worth. I done a month's business, and in the Dublin Comic Cons with it, I done a month's business in several levels. I done meeting people. I got they talk to people. I got the show people. People got the notice the stand and the brand and the books. They bought books. I mean, if one person asked me to sign a book, 10 must have for every book. Like, and I mean, I've just started. I've just released the books, and I still go read. Somebody signs a book, I say, piss off. Like, what are you at? You know what I mean? It's going to be like, it's all a bit of crack, like, but it's still unbelievable. And the support, you're getting it there in front of your face to face. It's real. They're shaking your hand. They're responding right then and there to your work. And you just can't buy that, Robert,
That's right.
You can't buy that, like.
Well, 2013's not over yet, Philip, so you never know what's coming around the corner for you. So you don't.
That hasn't killed me yet. No, that's right. Been working every hour God sends, but it hasn't killed me yet.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Life.
That's class, like. So it is. So you'd had good plenty of book sales going on, and what about the app? How's the app coming along for you? Is there?
Well, the app's released and all.
It's on iTunes and also Android, isn't it?
We're on. Okay, we have the printed edition, which was down there in Dublin Comic Con, but we sold out of our limited edition, so we did. They're gone.
Yeah, I've got that one.
Oh, is that the one you got?
Yeah.
We sold out of them. We've none left, so we have to restock them. And we have an Amazon. So on the digital end of it, we've completely blitzed the digital formats, which was deliberate. We've got Amazon, It's Kindle version.
Yep.
We have the iTunes iBook Store iBooks version. We have the Barnes & Noble Nook version. And then we have a Barnes & Noble app version of 2 books, of the source book on top of that. And then we have the Android app version of book 1. So there's actually, all in all, there's actually 21 different formats and editions across the print and digital that we've released back in March. So
Cool.
pretty wide net.
And what's the Jive Talk? Just explain to our ones who probably looking at it in their books but don't know what it is.
What's Jive Talk?
Jive Talk, the suite of apps.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
The Jive Talk suite of apps? Oh, I'm glad you asked. That's actually part of the transmedia strategy, which is basically the multi-platform strategy. Jive Talks is like a wee code word for something that's coming down the pipe.
Oh.
Aye. Jive Talk is basically, well, you know what Jive Talk is anyway, don't you? That's Jive Speak.
Oh, the Speak.
Jive Speak. Brothers Speak and stuff like that. Street Speak. Yeah?
Yes, I know what you're on about now. So
Aye, that's all out there. And, but this is a wee sort of code word for basically an action figure of Leroy. It's going to be prototyped up. It's going to have an accompanying app. And this is an exclusive, by the way.
There you go, one for Time Warriors.
So yeah, Leroy's going to be a figure, and within the figure, it's going to be embedded. It's going to be a Wi-Fi device. It's going to be a speaking device. It's going to be a recording device. It's also going to be a translating device. So through the app, he'll actually record dialogue from an animated episode, and then that'll release further content. He'll also translate your English to Jive, and vice versa, which will also release content through the app.
So, that's crazy.
So it's another element of, in the technology end of it, on the techie side of it, it's kind of like another way to enjoy story episodes or story installments, and they progress the story, rather than just being traditional means such as books or TV episodes, whatever. It's just going to sort of take it to another sort of immersive level, because so.
Crazy, it's making me want to go out now and get the rest of the books. So it is.
Well, there's logistics there too, because when things scale up, I'm very happy with what I've sort of built at the minute, but I know that there's logistics involved in carrying out something like this, and so there's lots of wee things going on in the background that need to happen, and they're all being put together, and that's the stuff I don't really talk about, because when I'm being interviewed and stuff, you're asked about the books naturally, and nobody's going to be really interested in what you're doing behind the scenes, but rest assured, hey, there's seeds being sown, and there's grass being grown.
You illustrated the whole book yourself too, didn't you? So I tell you what, I'm impressed with the drawings myself. Like, you like into the digital art, or would you do a lot of sketching by hand and then go digital?
Well, I had a wee stint back in Marvel, where I was a colorist, and I've done a bit of what did I work on? Spider-Man and X-Man. There used to be a title called X-Man, which was a young Cable, I think it was, called Nathan.
Right.
Books like that. So I kind of learned a wee bit about digital colouring there. But I was always doing comics when I was younger, Robert. I was always using mad colours, just like what you see in the book you have there. But what I've stuck to is starting off pencil on the boards and inking them in, and then scanning them in, giving them a wee clean up, and then getting stuck into colouring in Photoshop, and trying to make it as painterly as possible, and obviously attractive as possible, and visually interesting as it can be, by adding some nice effects, and as long as it's not too tacky looking, and as long as it's arresting, then I'll be happy, But I've done everything you see there was done by myself. The writing, the editing, the drawing, the colouring, the graphics, the layout, and then the printing, the sourcing of the printing as well, and the finish, and making sure, it was kind of have a nice bookshelf, had a nice prestige bookshelf finish to it, rather than I wanted to go for for bookshelf rather than newsstand.
Yes.
For the finish, something you just like to have, sit nicely on the shelf.
Especially
but it's like only a crazy man would do everything himself.
Well, we always get told by a woman that we can't multitask. I think you just proved them wrong. So you have. Ah, boy. Well, I tell you what, I've really enjoyed the book myself, and especially when I bought it down in Dublin, I really did enjoy it. Like I sat reading it.
Listen, every time I hear that, it's worth its weight in gold. People telling you face to face, I read something that you made. I took the time to look at something that you made, and it's unbelievable. It's never ceases to amaze me. Granted, I'm only out of the hatch, but I think it's something. If this industry will have me, then it's something that I will continue to never be amazed at. People saying they enjoy something that you do, that you enjoy so much yourself. It's fantastic.
Personally, if they don't have you, they need a slap in the jaw, because they do need you. Especially in this country, like, we need more independent comic artists, and I think now, as you've seen yourself when you were down in Dublin Comic Con, and also that one in Derry, like, you've probably seen yourself, the amount of independent comic book artists out there is like, it's going, it's time to get us Irish ones on the map. So it is.
I agree, Robert, and there's some kind of zeitgeist bubbling under in Ireland. There's definitely something has begun to happen. I would stick my neck out here and say that I've noticed a massive difference even in the last 8 to 10 months, even less, of an acceleration or certainly a widening of titles coming out from everywhere, from every corner, of Ireland. And that was a lot more than even a year ago, I would say.
Exactly. I know Owen would totally agree with you in that there. So he would, him, he's a big independent writer, and he encourages other independent writers, artists, actors, and all to get dug in and just do it. And it's, for me, like, seeing and talking to these people like yourself, and it encourages, like, oh, you know what, if these people like yourself can do it, why can't I? And I think there's a lot of ones who listen to us, like, going, I've got this gift, I should try to do something with it. What would you say to people out there who listen to us and, are like trying to experiment with their own art, to create comics and all? Would you have any encouragement or any advice for them?
Oh, God, put me on the spot now.
We're very good at doing that. We're very good at putting people on the spot.
Never been asked to share my wisdom, but I shall try. Well, let me see. I think I read a very interesting article yesterday. I'm not going off the point here. I read a really interesting article yesterday about Image Comics and what Eric Stevenson and a guy, Ronald, some guy, Roy Ronald, it's his right-hand man, and the kind of approach that they have recently taken to independent, unknown quantities, unknown writers, unknown artists, guys that come from the situations that we come from ourselves. You're getting a break, and they're not named creators, Owen, Now, they've consciously done that, and they've also noticed that taking these bets and taking these punts on these unknowns that have really cool stories and really nice books and really mad ideas, that it's helping not only their business, but it's helping the industry at large. So this newish culture of giving overlooked, really talented creators a break. It's working for the industry at large, so it is, and that means then that has led to a complete democratization of the comics industry at large in any country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So with that landscape, that means there's a nice wee beginning of a nice wee gold rush or a nice wee land grab is starting to happen, where anybody can come and play, you know, and you know it has opened up. One of the options is, I would suggest, is I think what Owen would be a proponent of as well, is setting up your own publishing capability, and then releasing your books through releasing your own imprints or your own titles, your own ideas, through your own 2 or 3 mates or whatever, setting up a wee small publishing outfit, because the tools are there to distribute digitally now, and so that makes it easier as well, and that's all helped the groundswell which we see happening in Ireland. So then what happens is you turn around, and whereas you would have turned around and would have had no one to talk to, or who you knew or had anything in common with in this, you're now turning around and they're there, and you can turn around and have a chat with somebody. I mean, me and you can have this chat, and there's more of us, and then if there's more of us, that means there's more of an audience, and that means there's more people who are going to read your books once you make them. So all in all, the climate's better, the landscape's better, you know, the crop and the stock of talent is going to get a chance. they come out and play as well, you know. So
True. Thank you.
I think it's a really good time. It's a really, really good time.
It
and as
is.
I say, back to my point at the beginning of this point, but the crack way Image Comics and what kind of angle they're taking and what business model they're actually taking by taking punts left, right, and center. They're effectively wiping the eye of Marvel and DC, because it's just coming out in the wash. They're fucking slave drivers. Pardon me, like, you know.
I know what you mean.
I shouldn't have swore there. Like,
No, you're right.
that they are just putting artists to the grindstone, and you know the perception is changing that the end game isn't to get a gig in DC or Marvel. The end game is not that. The end game is for creators. They have full ownership, full creative control, full control of the direction of their books and their ideas and their storylines and their titles, and publishing them independently. You see?
Know what you mean. So
hey,
that's good.
that's my angle. If that's helpful.
No worries. Well, Peter, I think we've done pretty well here, so we have. I have to say, now I'm going to have to wrap this up, but I have.
No worries at all. No worries.
But folks here listening to this here, that's Peter Campbell, pretty much the big cheese behind the Lone Star Soul books. Definitely go out and buy them. But Peter, thank you for taking this time out. I know it's a late one for us. Well, we'll sleep well after this. So.
Definitely, Robert. Here it doesn't, as long as it didn't put you to sleep.
Oh no! Heck, I've trust me, things I've listened to keeps me awake. So
surely. I'll show. My pleasure. It was great to be asked to get a chat with yourself through the Time Warriors website. The Time Warriors is a good rolling source of news for our game, our industry. It keeps me going on all the latest scoops.
And you're welcome anytime, you know.
Great.
You know where we are if you need to have a chat.
Certainly.
So you do. Alright, Peter, thank you very much for taking this time.
Cheers, man.
And all the best with the rest of 2013 with your books.
I'll keep you posted.
Oh, I know you will. Take care, Peter. Bye.
See you, man.
Bye.